Joining me now is Jocelyn Benson, the Secretary of State of Michigan. She's the author of an important new book, State Secretaries of State, Guardians of the Democratic Process. Secretary Benson, good to see you again. Thank you for joining me. I had trouble reading that story with a straight face. It's deadly serious, but it seems nonsensical. Can you tell me what I missed in that story about the spacing of the question and why that doesn't make it to a ballot?
Well, you're exactly right. I think the State Board of Canvassers are supposed to be a nonpartisan body. And what you have here is them potentially going beyond their authority to simply certify a proposal based on whether it has enough signatures, to evaluating some more legal questions. But it's important to note this isn't over. I mean, this is going to the Michigan Supreme Court. And it's also important to note that this is the same body that certifies election results. So we worried that perhaps this is a preview, this type of partisan deadlock, for what we could expect in November.
So tell me about this Board of Canvassers. Like, is this their job to do this? Is this a perversion of what it is that they're supposed to do by looking at things like spacing? I assume if something isn't spaced properly, by the time it gets on a ballot, that can all be worked out by somebody who specializes in words and spacing.
Well, yeah, we're in a bit of uncharted territory. I think it's also important to note that the spacing issue that was flagged was created because of an edit that the board recommended to the petitioners when they were viewing the form of the petition itself. That actually happens first by the board before the petition goes into the field for signatures. So there's a bit of irony there. And, again, this is, I think, to me, underscores how a partisan appointed board acting, and that's supposed to be acting in a nonpartisan way, potentially going beyond their role, could interfere with the will of the people, not just in this situation, but in elections itself.
What you said it goes to the Supreme Court. That sounds like a good thing because, in theory, a court should look at these things more fairly, perhaps, than a evenly split Board of Canvassers. But hundreds of thousands of people signed a petition for the privilege of voting on a thing. Does that rule, or do technicalities rule when the Supreme Court looks at this?
I mean, that's up to the Supreme Court. In my view, the will of the people should rule. And it's important to note we're talking about two petitions here, one on reproductive rights, another on voting rights. The Reproductive Freedom for All initiative filed 752,000 signatures. Promote the Vote filed 665,000 signatures. And so the signatures, the interest of the people, as you noted, this was far more than oftentimes you see for these types of initiatives. The will of the people, the desire of the people to vote on these issues is quite clear. In my view, technicalities should not leave individuals or proposals off the ballot, but the law rules the day, and the court will now determine whether these proposals, both of them, will be on the ballot this November.
So I guess the question becomes what we are seeing. I was just discussing with Representative Plaskett of the Virgin Islands, is what we're seeing across America is increases in voter registration, more people signing up. The fall of Roe has caused people to say, well, you know what? I still actually have the vote in this country. What do I do with it? So is it possible that this nonsense around this ballot measure may result in people just saying, I'm going to vote, and I'm going to let people know what I really think?
I think what we're seeing undoubtedly is people are really mobilized and energized around this fall's election, frankly, on both sides of the aisle. And so we're preparing for a high turnout election, and we are seeing people react to the removal or taking away of basic fundamental rights and freedoms that they or their parents, mothers, generations have enjoyed. And so that's why it's not hyperbolic at all to say not just democracy's on the ballot, but our fundamental rights and freedoms are on the ballot as well. And again, the other side of this that we're focusing on as well in Michigan, I believe the court's going to do the right thing, and we'll see how that evolves with these petitions. But this is the entity that certifies election results. And in 2020, the entity, one member did not certify, another Republican member did, and he has since been replaced on this board. And so this should also be seen as a preview for this type of deadlock, this partisan deadlock, for what we may be dealing with after this November's election. And we have our eyes on that as well.
Jocelyn Benson, good to see you. Thank you for joining us this morning. Jocelyn Benson is the Secretary of State of Michigan and the author of the book, State Secretaries of State, Guardians of the Democratic Process.